Let's talk a little bit about the systemic problems that we have in agriculture that should excite a young man or woman like the famine excited your father. Let's talk at the systemic level. Where are some challenges that you think requires a person or persons to devote their career to?
There are lots of challenges, but let me start with one which I think is important for anybody who's environmentally conscious today, and that is food waste. So food that is waste or loss, that is produced but then not consumed. About a decade ago, there was a very interesting report brought out by the FAO. One of the key authors was an Indian, Dr. V. Prakash, who was then the director of the Central Food Technology Research Institute in Mysore. And when I read that report, I was very surprised that the extent of food waste is exactly the same in India and the US. It's 1/3 of produce. But where it happens is totally different. In India, we call it food losses. It happens between the production and getting to the market. So this is the post-harvest loss. By the time the tomatoes come in that non-air-conditioned truck, half of them are rotten by the time they get to the supermarket, and so on. And every year we hear about apples which are not harvested because they've fallen on the ground. So the losses are happening at this end, whereas in the US, the losses are happening at the consumption end. Restaurants throw away food, supermarkets throw away food, a lot of people throw away food. So it's a totally different problem. Now, our problem, I think, is actually more tractable. Because what are we talking about? We're talking about research on packaging, research on safety, food safety, research on preservation, research on cold storage, research on better transport, research also on sort of just-in-time kind of production. How do you make sure that the produce reaches the market in a right manner with the least amount of damage? Partial processing. We're not talking about highly processed food, but we're even talking about putting tomatoes perhaps into some simple drying processing or other fruits to keep it longer. So I think this is one area where I am assuming there's a lot of, engineering or design solutions that are needed, which is from the time the food is harvested, and this applies to fish or to milk and others, to the time it reaches the consumer.